Right. Today we're going to be covering creating sustainable impact. And in terms of content, I'll just give you a few seconds literally about me. Talk about the masterclass series. This is the penultimate in the series, and then we will jump into masterclass 11, which is looking at sustainable impact. That's the game plan for this morning. Once I am settled, I am waiting on my team members to be here present. 2 out of 4 are. Make that 3 out of 4. Hopefully the others will show up in due course. So about me, well, I'm focused on finding, funding, and following startups that are on the journey, that are going from pre-seed, the seed, through to pre-series A, and then, of course, the idea being series A and beyond to get an exit. And the POEM framework provides a simple model to do that. And what it does is it talks about the vision being the key to creating a proposition that's delivered by an organization that's measured through the economics as you traverse milestones. And all of this is encapsulated in my book, my 2023 book. Who am I? Well, my name is Tommy Davis. Everybody calls me TD. So what are we going to be covering this morning? Well, creating sustainable impact. And it is, as I said, the penultimate masterclass in the 12-class series that makes up Investment Worthy Startup, which is about building startups using the POEM framework. Previously, if you remember, we started with telling your story, then we looked at, how you share the future you see with your vision. Then we talked about the proposition being an offer to customers in a market. Then we looked at the market itself. We then focused on understanding the customers and how you have a valuable product service offer. We then looked at how you deliver that proposition with an organization made up of people in a great team, the knowing how to get things done with your processes and deploying the right technology. We then moved on to look at the measures, which is how you use capital for expenses to generate revenues to create impact. We then talked about capital, and we looked at profitability, and now we'll be talking about creating sustainable impact. So we'll look at how you foster the commitments, what the influences are, the SDGs, the ESGs, and we'll look at the practicalities of them and what kind of blueprint you should have in place, how you validate, and of course, how you increase the support you have for impact. And I'll be more than happy to take questions. Between now and then, please, if you have any questions, pop it in chat. All right. So sustainability is fostering a commitment to environmentally responsible services. But how do you define that? It's actually meeting the needs of the present without compromising the ability of the future generations to meet their own needs. And it's about being conscious of that future generations. And it breaks down to what we call the triple bottom line. What's the triple bottom line? The first is you're talking of economic. So sustainable businesses, you're talking of profitability. Remember, we talked profitability last week, but while considering long-term impact, not just about short-term, we're going to make money next month. No. What's going to be happening 10 years from now, 20 years from now? Okay, lasting value creation when you're talking of economics. The second is around social, and it's about being fair. Okay, people talk about sustainability, it's about how you treat the people around you, whether it's employees, customers, members of the community. It's about ethical behavior. And the third is how you treat the world. Okay, how do you minimize negative environmental impacts? We all know burning wood, okay, is destroying the world, but we still do it. How do you minimize that? Okay, we know there's a gender imbalance. Women have been badly treated over the years. How do we address that? So it's about these critical changes that we're looking at. So why does it matter? Well, first of all, it gives you a competitive advantage. You have these sustainable practices, they will differentiate you. It helps you mitigate risk, okay? So you don't get burnt. Increasingly, really, really sharp talent, guess what? They want to know what you're doing about impact. And so it's not just a buzzword, it's a strategic imperative. And you need to think about it that way. The three levels I've just talked about, economics, okay, social and environmental. The way it's broken out, they talk about the economy, society, and the biosphere, but it's the same split. Biosphere, we're talking of the environment, society, not social, and of course, money is always there, economics are middle. So that's what we're talking about when we're talking about sustainability. Good. If that's sustainability, what's impact? All right, well, first of all, it's a powerful effect that something, especially something new, has on you or on a situation. It's to influence, okay? And note, it can be positive, it can be negative, it can be, beneficial, it can be high, low. It has variations to the theme in terms of the impact itself. I trust you are getting. So when we look at environmental, it's the net effect, okay, that the activities of the people have, okay, on the environment. Okay, so we talk about emissions, waste management, climate change, etc. So that's around the environmental impact. If we talk about social impact, it's about, community, people, individuals and families. So you talk about community involvement, health and nutrition, food and security, education, outcomes, employment. These are all social impact. And we talk about governance, okay? That is corporate ethics, transparency, and accountability. So agreements, accountability, shareholder, relations, policies and procedures, compliance, transparency. These are all critical things for governance under impact. And finally, we talk, of course, about the economic, which you all know about, job creation, financial inclusion, and wealth, and all of that. So sustainable impact, which is sustainability and impact, goes beyond short-term profits or utility. You're talking about creating value that compounds and persists over a long period of time, okay? And that means you're solving root problems, not just symptoms or anything like that. I am minimizing the negative externalities, okay, or unintended consequences of your behavior. Lagos State, I think, has finally banned the noise pollution levels that were being created by the churches and the mosques. But think about that impact. The impact it's already had previously on kids. And we're talking about benefiting the whole of society. So this is not just about, your shareholders. So that's what we mean when we're talking about impact within this context. So that leads us to the SDGs. There are a set of 17 global goals adopted by the UN in 2015. And the target is, you've heard me talk about 2030, 2030. The idea is it gives us something to aim for, okay? And it covers social, economic, and environmental issues of critical importance. Surprise, surprise. So what are they? Well, number one is no poverty. All right. Number two is zero hunger, food. Three, good health and well-being. Okay. Four is quality education. Five is gender equality. 6 is clean water and sanitation. 7 is affordable and clean energy. 8 is decent work and economic growth. 9, industry, innovation, and infrastructure. 10, reduced inequalities. 11 is sustainable cities and communities. 12 is responsible consumption and production. 13 is climate action. 14 is life below water. 15 is life on land. 16 is peace, justice, and strong institutions. And 17 is partnership for achieving and attaining the goals. So those are the sustainable development goals. You can look up the details of each one at your leisure. And we're going to talk a bit more about them, but it's critical you understand that there are 17 of them, okay? And the question becomes, which of those, okay, apply? But let's dig a bit deeper and talk about ESG, because this is something that comes up. Once we talk about SDGs, the next thing somebody tells you, oh, are you doing ESG reporting? Well, ESG is a criteria, set of standards impact investors use to screen potential investments for sustainability and ethical impact. So what they've done is they've broken the SDGs into environment. The criteria consider how a company performs as a steward of nature. So 6, 7, 9, 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15 come under environmental for ESG. Then social examines how you manage relationships with employees, suppliers, surprise, surprise. Remember what we were talking about earlier. And they've put under that no poverty, zero hunger, okay, excuse me, good health, quality education, gender equality, clean water and sanitation, decent work and economic growth, industry, innovation and infrastructure, okay, reduced inequalities, responsible consumption, and of course, all right, peace, justice, and strong institutions as social. And it's interesting. I hope you've seen that there's overlaps between them. So industry, okay, you can see innovation is an overlap. You can see, you know, for example, also that responsible consumption is between the two of them. The third is governance, which deals with the company's leadership, executive pay audits, internal controls. And those ones are 5, 8, 9, 11, 12, 13, 16, and 17. So you can see it's comprehensive on the SDGs, but it breaks it down under these 3 headings. Now, the ESG also brings an annual statutory reporting protocol with it. So in addition to your audited accounts and other things, there's an annual sustainability business report, which aligns to what we've just talked about and is quite complex and comprehensive. Now, you need to understand ESG factors for African startups. I didn't invent this. We have challenges for our investors. Balancing ESG requirements for LPs is a challenge. And, competing with funds that don't have ESG requirements, then yes, there are benefits for startups like strong corporate governance and business integrity. But guess what? We can do that without ESG, okay? In my opinion, and quite a few people share this opinion, current ESG frameworks are largely Western and they don't fit after the African context. So we need to reshape ESGs, okay? Because in some cases, focusing on ESG might hinder your growth, okay? So you got to be pragmatic if you say you are if you are going to be using the ESGs. Now, I say that so you can differentiate between ESGs and SD on why I'm saying SDGs as a blueprint for sustainable development. What SDGs align, okay, you in terms of solving real global challenges and the market opportunities, okay? Because you're balancing between environment, equity, and economy. The critical thing is that all of us have to take some responsibility here. They also, in particular, for not ESG, SDGs, if you look at our challenges with poverty, with hunger, limited education, and healthcare, if we stick to SDGs, we will be cracking some of those challenges. And finally, true innovation, okay, is long-term, okay? There's no, overnight. It takes 10 years to become an overnight success. So we've got to use our planet's resources, okay, responsibly. I've got children, I've got grandchildren. I'm hoping they're going to have children and grandchildren too, as do all of you here. So that's what this is about. Now, how do you design for sustainability then? All right. Well, what you need to do, first of all, you've got to put principles into your mission, core values, operations, and I'm glad to see you guys have done that. Both Dala and Miriam Gray, as has our dear friends at, I'm going to say children's school, but you know who I'm talking, you know yourself. But the key thing is you've got to have holistic models, all right? Why do you need to own something if you can rent or share it instead? All right? You've got to balance profit, planet, and people. I like the 3 Ps. That's why I put them there. You know me, I like things like that, okay? But looking at it through the lens of technology as an enabler, I would say that I'm Mr. Tech, but I make no apologies for it. And when, especially those in physical products, please, please, please look at eco-friendly practices. We have enough challenges with energy in Nigeria for us to be wasting. And the more we can get into a circular economy, the better we are, okay? And I'm talking of throughout your product life cycle. This is not just about when you're marketing or when you're selling, it's end to end. Okay, considering, okay, things that address the environmental needs. And there's social there. So how you engage your people, okay, in terms of a work culture to grow themselves and be able to empower them, then that's critical. And finally, governance, okay, you've got to be transparent. You've just got to be transparent. I don't know, people don't understand the power of it. Okay, when you have nothing to hide, then you don't worry about those things. So why bother? Well, like I said earlier, you will attract investors and customers. It will boost your innovative capabilities if you go down this. My team constantly surprise me, okay? Because I have an idea at level 3, they take it to level 11, 12, 13, sometimes even to level 20. And of course, it helps to mitigate risks. Okay. Finally, it's about long-term growth. You want to be able to look back and say, oh my God, look at how far we've come. That's what sustainability design is all about. And that's why you want to be sure that's what you get into ab initio, right from the beginning. So how do you assess it? How do you validate all of this? Well, fortunately for you, there are models, okay? But first thing is you've got to review the 17 SDGs and the specific targets, okay? ESG, I've discounted it, but it's becoming increasingly important. So that's why you need to be aware of it, okay? Don't be slavish to it is the point I'm making. And then develop the solutions, okay, that will, okay, make sure that, yes, this is what we're doing. And then you've got to collect the data. You've just got to collect the data. And the data collection must give voice to your customers. So you can really, really say bragging rights, pat on the back, this is what we're doing, okay? get the high use. I'll talk about the lean data approach in a minute. Okay, but that allows you to get high quality data quickly and efficiently. And it should be built into your, don't make it as, oh, we are collecting impact data next week, next month. It should be built into your day-to-day operations and activities. This is the single most important thing I can tell you about this. All right, whether it's focus groups, you're using interviews, surveys, by phone, in person, email, online, just build it into your standard operating procedures. Whether it's per transaction, you collect the feedback, whether it's monthly survey, however, it's a matter for you. But the critical thing is you set the objectives, you collect the data, okay? You analyze it, measure, right, how are we doing, and then report. That's how you do it. Now, in terms of how you manage all of that, surprise, surprise, there's a methodology, like I said, it's called Lean Social Impact Approach. It's an approach for maximizing your social change. And, I've always talked about Lean Startup. So this focuses you on creating solutions with the greatest social good. So I commend, again, like I told you right at the very beginning, this is about learning. Okay, this is about upgrading yourself. This is about information that is available out there, but people don't believe that you will access and use. So it's down to you. Core principles of it, well, think big, start small. You've heard me say that a number of times before. Okay? You can only go as far as your vision, as far as your goals. If you are talking of going to Abuja, you're different to somebody talking about New York. Both of you have to take transport, but the kind of transportation is different. So like I said, you've got to start with small scale experiments, then refine the approach, focus on the people you are impacting, understand them, get to know them, gather constant feedback. We've created 44 jobs, fantastic. Are those jobs sustainable? Or is it part-time, or I just get it, you can clear once a day, once a week, whatever. Again, that's the focus. Measure, measure, measure. You've got to collect the data. Okay, and it's not just about collecting data. It's about using it to change your approach. You've seen me do it through this masterclass series. You've seen us do it with Mentor Pitch. You've got to, okay, be prepared to adapt your approach based on what you learn, or else you're not going to get very far. And finally, embrace failure. It's not everything that will always go the way you plan. The key is to learn from the failures and iterate quickly. Now, in terms of increasing support for impact, even the most committed will face the challenges, but you've got to build partnerships with impact organizations, because you never know when they're going to turn around and help you. Seek mentorship, seek guidance, okay? And the NGOs out there, you'll be amazed at what they have access to that can help. You really will be. Don't underestimate them. Same thing, your local community. This, most of you are good at already, but just be aware that it's an impact-related opportunity, and that's where you're looking for those opportunities through them. And finally, I have just exited one of my startups, partially exited one of my startups. They've raised over $1 million in SDG related grants. So I know it can be done. So look at Wetility, for example. What they are doing in solar in South Africa, I mean, they just came and they're wiping the floor with everybody. Look them up. You look at, in terms of social utilities for profit, social enterprises, you look at something like Synergy. In Yoruba, we have a term called Agbekpo, okay, which is thesis carrier. But that's what they've done successfully. And Synergy's held, the health and sanity of over 100,000 Kenyans. And finally, so that you don't say, TD said we shouldn't do ESG, there are people that are taking ESG to the limit. And if you look at Aqua Power, they live and breathe SDG. And they're starting to move into renewable energy too. So, I just thought I'd share off the path so you understand, how far you can go with impact and assessment reporting and funding as a result of having that kind of impact and assessment. So in terms of creating sustainable impact and aligning your startup with the SDG goals, well, we talked about sustainability, what it is, how it relates to the economy, society, and of course, the environment. Then we looked at the SDGs, the 17 of them, and why I believe that's what we really need to focus on. We looked at what you need to do to sustainably design your startup. And finally, we looked at how you assess the impact you have. I trust that helps. I'm more than happy to take questions. So, Jennifer. Are you there? Lady Esiaba.
Yes.
I guess not. Your light is terrible, or is it mine?
It's actually hers. Yeah, she's breaking up.
Okay, it says. All right. In that case, Neoma, questions?
I think that this session was like pretty straightforward. So I think for me, it's really just thinking through what's SDG goals that I'm particularly very interested in, and then aligning whatever it is I'm working on to, have a direct focus on any of those goals. So like, I don't have a question at the moment, but I do have a lot of thinking to do.
Okay. Shay, you're already talking. You talking to us?
Yeah, well, I wasn't.
Because we can hear a lot in your background.
Sorry about that. Yes. We were trying to position Dala as CO2, being able to reduce CO2 emissions, as well as employment, respectable employment for youths and women. But we wrote a proposal, and they essentially, I think it was for Shell or something like this, and they were saying that our thesis for the CO2 reductions was not solid enough. So I'm curious if you have any advice about how we could even start thinking about measuring the real impact now at scale for a solution like Dala.
Well, we'd have to go through a session, on that to sort of step through. But when it comes to CO2, which comes under climate action, and there's an active carbon market now.
Yes, yes.
Okay, so you need to study the carbon voluntary market parameters. You should. When do you finish it next week, right?
Finish.
You finish Mentor Pitch next week, right?
Yes, next week.
Okay, so once you've joined the community, ask in the community to meet the following people: Soji Sanyaolu. Okay.
Amala, please write these names down. Amala, please.
Okay, Soji Sanyaolu of AirSmart and Oke Ese of Power Stove. Both of them are working on the carbon voluntary market in different, with farmers in one case and in clean energy in the other. Okay,
Thank you.
cool. Right. Kende.
Hey, if you don't mind, Tilly, one more question about respectable. I've made this very small on my screen. Something about respectable employment. Don't all of us that are employing people contribute to that SDG?
No, not necessarily. They're degrading jobs as they've just, they're jobs that degrade humanity, okay, that are also being created. And it's the difference between that. So that's why they talk about decent work. All right.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah, somebody had their hand up. Jennifer, you're back. Oh, yeah. Let's hear from you.
Can you hear me
Go
now?
ahead. Yes, we can.
Oh, okay. I think you were trying to speak to me earlier, but my network wasn't quite stable. So I had to go back out and come back in. So now I can hear you.
Yes. What's your question? Did you hear the masterclass and what are your questions?
Oh, yes, I did hear the masterclass. I don't know if it's quite a question, but I'll just go ahead and, speak. Obviously, the goal that we align with primarily would be good health and well-being. But sometimes when we're pitching, it seems like maybe I'm not able to articulate how much impact that we're creating. Sometimes during the plenary session, I had mentioned that we had raised some funds specifically for impact. And that school, I would say, sort of taught us how to infuse impact into our business so that it's not just like we're an NGO or a charity organization, but sort of find a way to, make the impact aspect still generate revenue for us. But I'm sort of conflicted, or I don't quite know how to articulate this when I'm speaking this or, explaining this to.
How does impact fit into your mission and values? How does it, what part of your business model has those considerations? Can you articulate it as part of your operations and supply chain? How about your product and service design? And then don't forget the way you treat your people. When we talk about decent work, okay, it's about, and that's why I say the SDGs do a halfway decent job, okay, of categorizing. If you look at it here, if you look under social, can you see? All right, yes. You've got zero, okay, zero hunger, good health, quality education, gender equality, clean water, decent work, innovation. So this is all about people. Okay. So yeah. If you're saying it's your employees once a year or once every or twice a year or however frequent, find out from your employees. Okay. What's their take on the way the company is treating them? I make it blind so that it's not, if I talk now, they'll come and punish me. There are sites, websites dedicated to this so that they can go and fill out, the way Jennifer talks in the morning because she hasn't had her coffee is unacceptable. Yeah. Do you get my point?
Yes, I do too.
So those are the kind of things to put in place. Then they become your reference points. During our last quarterly survey, our employees gave us a rating of, are you with me?
Yes.
Does that help?
Very much. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Right. I've heard from Shikende.
I was having network issues, so I missed the important session, which is the ESG and the SDG session. So I only I was able to listen to the lean social impact approach, and I don't have any question on that. So I'll take my time to go over the recording so I understand everything.
Okie dokie. Right, Ibukun, you've been back and forth. I know your internet's been bad. Any questions? I guess you can't hear. Korede?
Yeah, thanks, Siri. So the only question I may have is regarding this ESG reporting. So for startups, yes. So for startups, when is the ideal time to start ESG reporting if it relates to what they're what impact they are making. So in terms of impact, really. So when do startups consider, or when should they consider reporting on ESG?
I would have said, right from the beginning, but not to the strict standards, okay? Because if you look at the details out there, like I said, okay, it's about the frameworks, okay? The ESG frameworks that exist today are largely Western. Okay, if you take something like energy, okay, let's just take the environment and clean energy as an example. You will find most of Europe and the US and even most of Asia, the concept of partial electricity during the day is alien to them. Are you with me? They Canada, what do you mean? What do you mean you have to use a generator for what? Why do you have a generator? If you look at generator sales worldwide, it tells you something, because it's only in Africa that you have generator used for residential. Generators were created for industrial commercial use. You get the point?
Yes.
Where you need clean, uninterrupted, et cetera, et cetera. Anyway, the point being, it depends on your stage. Anything before MVP, doing a ESG reporting, is questionable. It would depend on your sector. The more impact driven you are, the more you go in that direction. It would also depend on the nature of the investors you are after. Impact investors, insist on ESG. I trust that helps.
Yes.
But yeah, it's not for first round funding. By the time I get into Series A, pre-Series A itself, but at pre-seed, even seed itself is questionable. I trust that helps.
Yes, CD. So a follow-up question to that will be on grants. Yes. So how effective are the ESG reporting to apply to applications for grants? So when startups are applying for some grants, are they so for
it's
most
not
grants?
It's not been my experience that ESG reporting is a requirement for impact or sustainability grants. It is for funding, okay. And some bigger grants, over $500,000, $1 million, 2 million, 3 may require a year or more of ESG reporting, but you'd have to look at the requirements of each of the funders to determine, what's required.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Right.
Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, my network glitched earlier. I also wanted to ask about the grant. If your the company of finding has to be really helpful with the SDG goals, like for you to get grant?
You bet. If
Okay.
you can't prove your alignment, okay, with the SDG goals, then you will not get SDG grants. But if you can prove your impact, which is where it says just survey, I mean, it's like something as simple as in one startup's case, everybody that buys the product gets a question, and it's a yes, no question. And that's what they use to assess impact. I have another, okay. The way they assess the impact is because they're in EduTech, it's at the end of each term. Okay. A third company, they are actually media, all right. It's constant. So it's a constant stream, almost on a daily, and then once a month they assess. So it depends on your stage of growth, your sector, and what your objectives are. I trust that helps.
Yes, CD does. Thank you.
Cool. All right. On that note, you see, I've got this down pat to a science. Any questions? If you have a question, put in chat. If not, then Noma is going to, as usual, please feedback. And you see what we covered. So please, the form is in chat. Kindly fill it and put in a Y so that I can give you at least 10 minutes of your time back. And there are not plenty. Oya Korede, waiting on you. Ibukun, waiting on your Y. Jennifer, waiting on your Y. Kende, Sheyi. Waiting on the Ys. Sorry, I don't know how to play music, or else I'd have played music for you guys. I want to learn that from Chuma. Neoma, remind me. On your mics, get set, feedback. Oh, please, guys. Thank you, Shay. Much appreciated. All right. Thank you, Noma. Thank you, Bukun. The feedback isn't it opening for Kende? Noma?
Maybe it's a network thing because it's working well. So I think it's network. Put it on the group
Okay.
again.
Jennifer, thank you. Okay, Candy. Not sure what to do. You owe me a feedback. That's all right.
It's opening up now.
All right.
I'll check.
Fantastic. And I presume we have liftoff. Okay, Mr. Correde. Thank you very much. I will trust that Kende will fill it, and I will leave you guys by
Yes,
saying
I just shared the way.
thank you very, very much. Okay. If there's anything that comes to your mind after the fact, you know how to reach me on WhatsApp. And have a great day ahead. You take care.
Thank
Thank
you,
you,
TD.
Chidi.
Yes.
Yes.